You've made it to Chiro Hustle Live. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This week's episode is brought to you by Clothes for Chiro, Legacy Wealth Management, Posture Screen, Imaging Services, Chiro Thin, Universal Tractioning Systems, Chiro Moguls, Zingit Solutions, Dr. Pete Goldman's Zone School of Healing, Everest Coaching Systems, Rhino Coaching, 5-Star Management, The Goodman Factor, Chiro Health USA, Max, Mahalo Wellness, and Chiro Expert. Let's hustle. Hey everybody, this is Jim Chester with the Chiro Hustle live stream, and I have DC to B, Johnny Reuter, coming in from Hotlanta, and I'm coming in from the western slope of Colorado, which is called Grand Junction, the Grand Valley. And I wanted to bring Johnny on today to talk to you guys specifically about his program called the Legendary Chiropractor. I'm going to scroll his web asset to the bottom of the screen right now so you guys can see where to click on. But if you did want to post a job with him, he has a very cool job board that he started up. And you guys can post your jobs for chiropractors above. If you click that link where it says click here, just go ahead and click on that for Johnny, and you guys can post your job. I know he's going to do something cool at the promo today to give you guys some type of a discount for posting with him. But I'm going to show you guys the website now that you guys can go to if you guys wanted to get more info from Johnny. And yeah, he is your quarterback now for posting jobs and the cool job board that he's created for not only students, but those that are out there looking for jobs that might want to be an associate or other types of things when it comes to chiropractic employment. Johnny, welcome.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of people don't know this, but you're still not out of chiropractic school.
I am not out of chiropractic school. I'm in my last year here at Life University in Atlanta, Georgia, and I am a 12th quarter out of 14. So we're getting there slowly but surely, but retrospectively looking back at it, it flew by. So I'm happy to be on your show. I'm, pumped that I'm still a chiropractic student, but I'm also pumped that I can offer some assistance to docs out in the field on top of what I'm trying to do for chiropractic students as well.
I think it's super cool what you're doing. You're bringing together the profession even stronger than a lot of people are considering themselves as leaders in the profession. But what you're really doing is you're bringing together people opportunity. And I think that's what sets you apart and why I really wanted to do some joint venture operations with you and to start doing cross promos with you, because as it was, we were already posting on each other's pages and we were already supporting each other in that direction. I've had you on the show, I believe, a couple times, and I seen you popping up at these different chiropractic events. And I was like, man, this guy is definitely a forward thinker. He's doing great things for not only his local tribe down there in Atlanta with Life, but he's also creating a movement called the Legendary Chiropractor. Let's talk to our audience a little bit about what the Legendary Chiropractor is. And I made a post the other day, also, Johnny, urging people to start a podcast. It was pretty cool to see how many people responded and reached out to me. So if you guys do want to start a podcast and you guys have ideas, reach out to me and I'll send you my top 20 list of things that you need to do before you start a podcast. But Johnny, what is the Legendary Chiropractor, or why did you start a podcast, and what is the podcast called?
Awesome. So to start, we'll start with the Legendary Chiropractor because I think that's most important here. And the Legendary Chiropractor is all about and for the student. So we are 100% student-centered, student-focused, and the Legendary Chiropractor has become an online community. And the mission behind the Legendary Chiropractor is to be the virtual one-stop shop for everything chiropractic. And I mean everything. We have everything from doctors posting jobs now so you can find available positions as a chiropractic student so you can better prepare for your future. We have 100% free mentoring and coaching for chiropractic students and docs if they so choose, but mainly for chiropractic students to kind of figure out, hey, what is it about school and studying? We can talk peer to peer. We have tons. I think we're up to over 30 chiropractic students and doctors combined that are volunteering their time each week to be mentors for chiropractic students and doctors who, if they're interested. So we have 100% free mentoring and coaching. That is not, and then also on top of that, we have legendary content. And I just love putting the word legendary in front of everything because it makes it sound so much better and so much cooler. So legendary content, and that ties me right into the podcast. So we have Facebook Lives and a podcast that we put out on iTunes and Spotify all the time. And we actually just came out with season 2 yesterday, Monday yesterday. And it dropped our first episode of season 2 of the Chiropractic Compass podcast. And what that's all about is providing, literally our slogan, our tagline is providing a navigational beacon for the present and the future of chiropractic. And I truly, truly believe that and mean that, because what the Chiropractic Compass podcast does is we bring people on like you, Jim. We bring people on like Dr. Barbara Eaton, Dr. Kim Carpenter. We bring big powerhouse names on the podcast, on the show, to get student engagement and to help students, kind of guide them along the way of saying, hey, here's what it's like outside. Here's what it's like from a chiropractic advocate like yourself. Here's what the perspective of a chiropractor who's been out for years like Liam Schubel, or here's what it looks like for a transition student who went straight from student right into practice with his father. And Dr. Jack Goss dropped some fire for us. And he even told me before the podcast, he says, I'm not an expert. I said, look, Jack, I know it's fine, but you are to people who, look up to you or are on the same path as you, because us chiropractic students tend to look up to one another because every single person's success is a win for chiropractic. And if it's a student, it's a win for the future of chiropractic. And that's what's so important about, helping chiropractic students and bringing us all together and uniting us. And that's really where the Legendary Chiropractor and the podcast came from. So yeah, if you are interested in podcasting, reach out to Jim. Jim is a phenomenal, phenomenal resource to have in your back pocket and to go to and say, hey, look, Jim, what equipment do I use? Where do I even begin? And why? What's the point of starting a podcast? And there's that whole thing because it's a fad right now. It's a trend. But if you provide, kind of what Jim and I are doing with our podcasts, it's not a fad. It's not a trend. It's a lifestyle, and it's a way to expose people to other things that they may not have found by themselves or through their own news feeds, because we all create those little circles through our news feeds that we constantly were in the same process and people and seeing the same posts by the same people. And then, you and I bring on people from our worlds and our virtual corners, and we say, hey, look, you guys should know this person. You should see this person. You should see what they're doing and the product they have and the service they own. And that is what's so cool about podcasting and what we do. So do you have anything to add on that, Jim?
Well, I think we had this talk last time I was on a call with you. I was like, hey, man, it's not about the first 10 episodes that you make. It's the 100th episode that you make. And it's not about the logo that you picked. It's the brand that you develop. And, I try to tell people this all the time. Before I get into more tips and strategies for people, if you guys are watching this and you're finding value from this, hashtag value in the comments below. And just let us know where you guys are watching in from so we know where our audience is tuning in from. And if you find that you're watching this on replay and you didn't watch this live, hashtag replay into the comments down there. And Johnny's going to post how you guys can post jobs in the comments below as well. And he'll post links to his podcast down there as well. But I just wanted to pattern interrupt our flow today. If you guys are loving this, hit that heart button and just hammer the heart button and give us as much love as you can. And if you guys really think that what Johnny are doing is dynamic, please hit the share. Shares go a million miles. Hearts, we love them. Comments, we love them. But the shares where we get more people on the news feed with us today. So just knowing that those are a lot of tips right there that most people just don't incorporate into their lives. And then you watch them just kind of talking back and forth to each other. And there's really no public interaction. And I think that that's what sets us apart is we actually invite people to comment to us. We bring people into our zone of genius and we say, hey, I know that you guys are probably learning from this. If you guys do have questions for either one of us, also post those in the comments below. So those are like strategic tips for people. But one of the things I wanted to point out to people is when you're doing a podcast interview or you're doing a Facebook Live interview, this is my prep work. It's a sticky note with some scribbles on it. So I kind of have a direction on where to go with Johnny. Some people are a little bit more advanced. They get a whiteboard and they put questions on the other side of their screen so they can like look out there and find the questions. A lot of times I'll tape my questions to my light that I have out there just so I can like look out there and I don't lose my flow or I don't forget something. So preparation is great. But having quality guests, like you were saying, Johnny, is a huge part of this thing, is to make sure that you're shining a spotlight on people that, we like, and we trust. And then we build the tribe up with the resources that we have. And, one of the other things before I get on to the next topic with you, just think about now you have one of the world influencers, like say Ivan Meisner, who is the founder of BNI, who we just interviewed a couple days ago. And when you think about a guy like Ivan Meisner, he's created the largest business networking platform on planet Earth. And it's called Business Network International. And when you have a guy like that now in your pocket, how you said that I could be in other people's pockets, now you have a resource of a guy that is like the grandfather of business networking, that if I called him on Friday, Johnny, and he was like, in transit to the grocery store, he would probably take my call. Whereas if he didn't know me before and I never interviewed him, he would never take my call. Or let's say just one of the people you mentioned earlier, Barbara Eaton. If I needed anything from Barb and I was calling her at 5 p.m. and she was about to fix dinner, she would take my call now instead of just like letting it push to voicemail. Because now I've taken interest and built a relationship with this person, and now they built a community with me, and now they're a part of the Chiro Hustle movement. So I know that's one of the things I wanted to talk to you about as well, is if people do work with you, what does it look like and what's in it for them?
Yeah, absolutely. Can I get to that in a second, Jim? I want to touch on something you said previously.
Sure.
Yeah. So here's the thing, and this is just like a golden nugget that just popped into my head here. But when I started the Legendary Chiropractor, it's like creating something from nothing, pretty much. You have the internet and you have a computer, right? And you're like, okay, I love this idea. It would help me if I was in the position I was in, and will it help anybody else? And I think that's kind of how a chiropractic student has to think as well. Like when you're going into transitioning from a student to a doctor and opening a practice, what you were talking about, building relationships, connecting with people so that they do take your calls, so that they do come into your office. That is how you build a successful practice. That's how you start and open your doors with 100 people on your list. That's how you get people in your office, is going around your community, talking to people, asking them questions about them, their selves and their families and their community, because you are coming into a space and an area that you are pretty unfamiliar with. I mean, unless you're going back home, but even still, you've matured over time. You've changed, you've developed, you've evolved over time, and it's going to take relationships and connections with people, like you were saying, to really build a successful practice. And I wanted to jump on that opportunity to share that, because I really think that's important for chiropractic students to understand, because you can't just walk into a community and be like, hey, John Reuter Chiropractic's open. And then you sit there and you wait and you have no idea. Like, no one's going to come into your office unless, they're in acute pain and, they just need somebody that badly. But
yeah, and you said something there, and with the chiropractor coming out and starting up fresh, they want to utilize your job board because they want to get placed at the right, the right city that they're looking to be in, and they want to have that resource. So I know that that's one of the reasons that you and I have like linked up so well, is because I know that you are fundamentally providing a resource for chiropractors to have a smooth transition from diploma day to first adjustment day. And I think that that's a huge thing to focus in on is what happens when the chiropractor gets the diploma. Well, a lot of times the chiropractor that gets that diploma is on top of the world. Their families are with them. And then they come out and it starts to tailspin and nosedive and their self-esteem isn't where it used to be. So as that champion doctor that gets out into practice, now they might be a little lost. They might be a little scared and they might be thinking, oh, who's in pain and who's going to come see me? Now, with what you've developed, now there's a resource to take somebody from diploma day to first adjustment day.
Absolutely. Yeah, let me talk on that a little bit. So first off, for the doctors, I want to talk about the doctors because you are an important asset. And I want you to understand that, as a chiropractor, hiring maybe your first associate, maybe hiring your 70th associate, whatever it might be, the Legendary Chiropractor platform is a vital resource for you to post a job and gain tremendous exposure to chiropractic students as an audience and people who are actually interested in jobs, because a lot of students, recent grads and chiropractic students who, are transitioning, like we talked about earlier, are interested in associating. Associating used to be the thing to do, and then it kind of went away. And it became like this tainted image of like, ooh, everyone's going to take advantage of me and the contracts aren't right and everything's wrong and all that stuff. So everyone started opening their own practices. But I'm telling you right now that it is coming full circle. And I hear this at every chiropractic school that I've been to. I hear it at every chiropractic event that I've been to, from students, from doctors. Associateships are coming back. Maybe if you want to call that independent contracting, if you want to call that buying out a practice, whatever you might be doing, the Legendary Chiropractor can be there to assist you along that journey of posting a job, getting in front of the students and helping you find the right person. So with that being said, we just launched our applicant information center. So if you're a chiropractic student, now this is for the chiropractic students a little bit more. If you're a chiro student out there and you are interested in associating, go to the legendarychiropractor.com, go to the available chiropractic jobs page, fill out the submit a resume part, and literally you can submit your resume or CV, whatever you want to call it, and then you can also put in a little blurb, however long you want it to be, about what you're looking for out of the experience of the practice that is your ideal practice to work in, because that is such vital information for doctors to have at their fingertips and say, hey, look, if I'm upper cervical and if I'm pediatrics, or if I'm, strictly Atlas orthogonal, I think the doctor, the employer should probably know that about me before we even contact each other. Because if we contact each other and we're emailing each other back and forth, and then finally the fifth or sixth email is like, hey, what's your dream technique, right? Not location, not blah, blah, blah. It's what's your dream technique, or what technique do you want to practice? What's your ideal client look like? All of that stuff can be put in that applicant information center, and it can be submitted so that doctors can view it, see it, and engage with it and contact you if they have any questions or any comments or any observations that they might have. So that's a really valid and really great resource for chiropractic students. And then docs, you literally had to post at chiropracticjob.com to post a chiropractic job with us. It's anything from independent contracting, associating, selling your practice, hiring a CA, anything that you want to put out there and post on our website, please, please, please post it.
You've made it to Chiro Hustle Live. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This week's episode is brought to you by Close for Chiro, Legacy Wealth Management, Posture Screen, Imaging Services, Chiro Thin, Universal Tractioning Systems, Chiro Moguls, Zingit Solutions, Dr. Pete Goldman's Zone School of Healing, Everest Coaching Systems, Rhino Coaching, 5-Star Management, The Goodman Factor, Chiro Health USA, Max, Mahalo Wellness, and Chiro Expert. Let's hustle.
And like Jim mentioned earlier in this podcast, that we're going to do a sweet promo. I'll drop that now. For all Chiro Hustle listeners, we are doing a $50 promo. So $50 off of a job posting. If you post within probably the next week or so, it'll stay up. So it'll stay open for about 7 days. So please, please, please get on there. You'll get $50 off. Just select it in the drop-down menu. And it doesn't get much better than that. It really doesn't. It's already $83 a month to post for 3 months or 6 months at a time. I mean, it's a steal compared to competitors out there.
Yeah, and I think what you're doing, Johnny, is so essential for the network, and you're giving the value at such a low, opportunity to people that the barrier of entry to post a job or to look for somebody for the employment opportunity, it just makes sense. And when you do that, you build a relationship with people. And then, obviously the program is, as soon as they come in at the low barrier of entry, eventually they'll do business with you again and they'll pay full price. But, if you guys do take promos like what Johnny is promoting to you, come on board, post your job, tell people what type of technique you practice. And I think, just use that job board for what he's created for as a massive resource for, communicating basically somebody that might be interested to somebody that I call it the diploma day to the first adjustment day. You can really fast track somebody from that confusion. And there's a reason that people go to school for 7 years and become chiropractors, but they don't really know what the next step is all the time. The lucky ones figure it out, but some of them do. They go out there in their private practice and they're untethered. They don't have a community to connect to. They don't know what their big why is anymore. Their big why was to become a chiropractor, but then they kind of get lost from that 3 to 6 month phase and they start to have self-doubt. Their self-esteem starts to go down. So if we can just save people from that type of thing, that's really what drew me to you. Was I saw this young man that was a charismatic leader that was doing great things for his local community. But then he said, you know what, I'm going to do this podcast and I'm going to live outside the four walls of life. And I'm going to start connecting with other influencers in the arena. I'm going to build relationships with people. So if you guys get any takeaways today, maybe hashtag takeaway in the comments down there. If you guys are finding value out of this, hashtag value and hit the share button, because that's what really gets more people involved with what we're doing. I'm going to flash Johnny's website again on the bottom of the screen so you guys know where to go for the goods. So I'm going to show that quick. But let's close out this interview. What's next for us? What does it look like? I know that's one of the things why we jumped on today, is to talk about what we're doing together.
Yeah, absolutely. So Jim and I, if this is our big debut day, Jim, this is so Jim and I are working together on, Chiro Hustle and the Legendary Chiropractor are utilizing their forces, because like you said, we were sharing in each other's groups already. So we finally met for the second time at Chiro Sushi summer camp in Miami. And we just, it's, again, building relationships, building connections. And I had emailed you or messaged you on Facebook and said, hey, Jim, I think your mission, I know your mission and your vision line up with mine. I know you're out to change the chiropractic profession for the better. I know you're doing it for doctors and students, but here's what I have. Here's my peace offering, right? Here's all the pieces of value that I have for you, that I can bring to the table for Chiro Hustle, and the Legendary Chiropractor can also offer for Chiro Hustle and the community that you've created and the audience that you've created. So it's really cool that, we get to work together, and I'm really, really excited about it. But what's to come? I mean, really, it's more podcasts. It's more Facebook Lives like this. It's more helping people and delivering content. I get asked all the time, how do you have time for this? What kind of content do you produce? How do you produce your content? You have PDFs, you have videos, you have podcasts, you have all of these different things. And it's like, number one question is always, how do you have time for that? You're in chiropractic school. And it's like, you make time, you reprioritize is my answer. But the second question is, it's like, how do you go from having, from starting something from scratch and then getting in contact with you, getting in contact with people like Barb and Kim and all of these amazing influencers in the chiropractic profession to really get the legendary chiropractor name out there. Because once you're associated, I want to tell people something, like once you're associated with people like Jim, who's an honest, trustworthy resource in chiropractic and is the largest advocate that I know of in chiropractic, once you're connected with that, once you're tied to that, your credibility skyrockets, right? Your respect levels skyrocket. And people look at you as, hey, if Jim trusts the legendary chiropractor and the platform Johnny's created, I should too, right? If all of these different brands kind of get on board with what we're doing, but brands, I want to make that specific, brands that align with our vision, our mission, and that's why I reached out to you. I reached out to other organizations that are on the site, because it's important to me that we're all in this together. Because I could not align with a lot of chiropractic, groups out there and probably get money from them to sponsor the program that I run. But it's like, that's not what I want, because I don't necessarily align with their mission, vision, and purpose. But with you, with all of these other sponsors that we have, it's amazing. It's been amazing. So yeah, more Facebook Lives delivering value, content, and value. That's what this is all about. That's what, from a student perspective, I think that I have a lot to offer for, young chiro students, young docs coming out. But I also, as I go through this transition period of student to doctor, I'm going to be learning a lot. I'm going to be tripping a lot. Like I will be falling in in pitfalls and just, potholes and things like that I'll be able to apply. And, we'll hop on a Facebook Live and be like, Jim, you'll never believe it, but here's what I learned last week about starting a practice, or here's what I learned last week about podcasting. Here's what I learned last week about reaching out to a big name in the profession or outside of the profession, because it either worked or it didn't, and it was miserable. And, here's my experience with it, and here's how you can learn from it. So I think all of those things, Jim, that's where this relationship is going. I'm really excited about it. I'm honored and humbled that, Chiro Hustle was able to see the value in the legendarychiropractor.com and everything that we're offering through posting a job as a doctor, through free mentoring and coaching for students, through podcasts, through Facebook Lives, all of that. And I'm honored, Jim. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for sharing with us today. I know that this is going to be one of many, and I just want to recognize a couple people. Liam Schubel just jumped on. Kat Sarah has been on with us. Crystal Marie Valentine has been on with us. Devin Vrana, who is going to be one of our episodes today, has jumped on with us. Liam says, hi, guys. So I just like to go through and recognize the people that have been on with us. All of you that are on with us right now, keep your eyes and ears open for what Johnny is doing at the Legendary Chiropractor and with his podcast. I know he's going to post some comments below, but if you guys do have a job that you'd like to get filled, click on the link above in the description. I call it above the fold. So you'll see a link up there you can click on, and you can post your job with Johnny. Just want to say thank you so much to everybody that's been on with us today. Is there anything that we didn't discuss, Johnny, that you think that we should touch on?
Honestly, no. That promo is going on, $50 off a job posting for Chiro Hustle listeners, and I think that's really it. Jim, I do want to ask you a question though, because I think it's important. So when it comes to podcasting, and the way I found out like how I started podcasting was I just started Googling stuff, right? But people who are wanting to podcast that follow you and myself have incredible resources at their fingertips. So what is it that you can offer someone who's like, hey, I really want to start podcasting. I just don't know the first place to start. Where would you send them, and why would you send them there?
Well, I would say send me a direct message right away, and I have a checklist of 20 things that you should be doing to follow. It has equipment. It has, how you get your logo designed. It has where you should host your podcast, how you repurpose your content. I think that that's a huge, I give that away for free too. But yeah. I just think that when people do reach out to me, I overvalue them with content and information, because I think a lot of times people will trust you more if you just give them everything away for free. So that's how we've grown this thing into the entity that it is, Chiro Hustle. We just developed more free content than anybody else. So my number one advice is just move the free line more effectively than anybody else and be more consistent than anyone else and know what your 100th episode will look like as opposed to your first 10. And just, I guess the real takeaway from this, Johnny, is quit being afraid of yourself and your message. I think there's an old saying is don't let the music die inside of you. Well, don't let your story die inside of you either. And I think that that's the most important thing to take away from today is you're only one story away. Keep hustling as our tagline. And we all are just one story away from the next, resource of a connection that we have, like me and you, or you're just one story away from, the Ivan Meisner interview or the Grant Cardone interview. You're just one story away from Barb Eaton's interview or Liam Schubel's interview. You're just one story away from these. And if you create it, I'm from Iowa, and the old saying is if you build it, they will come. And that was like the field of dreams. So I kind of look at like what we did with Chiro Hustle is we built it and then the profession came. And now we have the largest, most listened to chiropractic podcast out there. And now I can mentor people like yourself and say, Johnny, do it this way. Do a Zoom interview and do that and record it and then strip the audio and make it a Facebook or make it an iTunes episode, but then take the Facebook Live we do and distill that down and make it a YouTube video, and then take a 15-second clip out of that and make that your Instagram clip for the day. So the repurposing game is like one of the most important things that people can learn from this. So if you guys did wait to the end of this, that question that Johnny just asked me will help set you free with developing your podcast strategy. And if you guys did want more information, I'll send you over that resource list that I've created, 20 tips for upstarting your podcast.
Absolutely, Jim. Yeah, and I was listening to Entrepreneurs on Fire the other day with JLD, and it's a phenomenal podcast, by the way. And I learned about entrepreneurship there, but on one of the interviews, they kept mentioning document your way there. That's what they kept saying, right? Document your way there. And what that means to myself and what it meant to the host of the podcast, he kept saying, create content. Always be creating content, no matter if it's PDFs, videos, pictures, quotes. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as you're documenting your way there. There's no overnight success. You and I both know that. But you know what? We're being consistent. We're being persistent. And that is what sets you and I apart from the rest of the pack out there, because that's where consistency and persistence, that's where people start, flocking and saying, hey, I really like these guys. I know they're on at 7:30 at night or whatever time you choose to do your podcasts at night or during the day. And then they can kind of get into a routine with you. And it's really about people. You said it earlier in this, and I'm in closing, Jim, but you said it earlier, and it was, we want to help students and doctors, whatever you might be. We want to help you take your passion, right? Your story is worth hearing. Don't keep it to yourself. Your passion is worth hearing. Don't keep it to yourself. Your ideas are worth hearing. Don't keep them to yourself. So the reason is once you put that on paper, once you start creating short-term, long-term, and really long-term goals, that's when your passion becomes action. That's when your ideas become implemented. And that is when you start seeing that documenting your way there. That's how you do it. So Jim, I appreciate you, everything Chiro Hustle does, and I really, really appreciate it.
All right, man. Well, we'll catch you on the next one, Johnny, and go over to legendarychiropractor.com, subscribe, comment, and like the Compass Chiropractic Compass podcast. And just make sure you drop those links down there for our audience to follow and to be a part of your tribe. You guys are just one story away. Keep hustling. I'll see you on the next episode. Johnny, have a great rest of your day. And coming up is Keith Wah-Sung on the Chiro Hustle podcast, and that will be episode 132. So, Johnny, have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon. Okay, buddy?
Absolutely, Jim. Thank you, sir.
All right.
Thank you for listening to Chiro Hustle Live. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.